Just a few days from now, Supreme Court nominee Elena Kagan will appear before the Senate Judiciary Committee and make her case for confirmation. In the meantime, lawmakers are poring over documents from her past. Those from her years in the Clinton White House revealed little about her personal beliefs. So instead, some are focusing on papers from her earlier stint at the Supreme Court, where she clerked for Justice Thurgood Marshall. Shannon Bream is live in Washington. She keeps an eye on the Supreme Court for us. Shannon, why does Elena Kagan's time as Supreme Court clerk matter here?
Well, Don, you mentioned she did clerk for one of the giants, Justice Thurgood Marshall, and a lot of people think it matters quite a bit because she has no judicial experience herself. She has expressed her admiration for Justice Marshall and his work, and looking at her memos gives us some insight into how people think through legal conflicts, what her reasoning was. Well, Carrie Severino with the Judicial Crisis Network once clerked for Justice Thomas, and she believes that you can see some of Kagan's leanings in her work for Marshall. Here's what she said.
When you look at Elena Kagan's documents in the Marshall document, she uses words like, well, I think and I believe, and describes in some cases when she said, I believe that Strickland should be overturned too. So she's not just saying, I know that you want to overturn this case, but I agree with you on this case.
And that Strickland case was about convicted criminals arguing that if they didn't have effective counsel at trial. But some other memos that will get a lot more attention next week have some of her personal comments on things like gun control and abortion. She will get questions about those for sure when these kick off the hearings on Monday, John.
So is Kagan saying anything about what she wrote when she was a clerk?
Well, you know, she has had to testify about this issue because those memos came up when she went before the Senate last year in her confirmation hearings to become Solicitor General, which she successfully did. She's the government's top lawyer before the Supreme Court. So in her 2009 hearings for that position, she said, hey, I was simply trying to reflect Marshall's views in those memos. And she also said, quote, I was a 27-year-old pipsqueak. I was working for an 80-year-old giant in the law and a person who, let us be frank, had very strong jurisprudential and legal views. Also some news this morning, I talked with Senator Jeff Sessions, who is the top Republican on the Senate Judiciary Committee. He affirms again to us today that a filibuster is not off the table in this case, John.
Gonna be